Welcome, Aspen University, School of Education, Dissertation Defense, Module 8 assignment of the Introduction to Dissertation. My name is Bamidele Akimbo. The title of the dissertation is The Impacts of Teacher Intrinsic and Extrinsic Motivation on Teacher Self-Efficacy, written by Sally Jonathan Putnam, in partial fulfillment of the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Education, Liberty University. The purpose of this study was to investigate the relationship between teacher motivation and an adaptive factor of self-efficacy. The problem statement of the research is teacher recruitment and retention is a growing concern for educational organizations all over the world. This is in large part due to the increasing work demands and underfunding of public schools by the various governments. For example, the United States is experiencing a teacher shortage. However, the shortage areas vary by content area and geographical location. According to the Learning Policy Institute, more than 40 states in the United States identified special education, mathematics, and science as areas of shortage. The researcher was interested in investigating the reason for this shortage. The significance of the study. 1. The implication of a predictive relationship between self-efficacy and intrinsic and extrinsic motivation are far-reaching. 2. The research has implications beyond the educational landscape and can influence the general workforce by guiding the influence motivation plays on the perceived self-efficacy of employees. The implication and significance of the study also covers job satisfaction by employees, leading to a very productive workforce. Research questions. Research question number 1. Is there a relationship between teacher self-efficacy and intrinsic and extrinsic motivation? Research question number 2. Is there a relationship between teacher self-efficacy and intrinsically motivated work responsibilities as measured by WTMST? Research question number 3. Is there a relationship between teacher self-efficacy and extrinsically motivated work responsibilities as measured by WTMST? WTMST is the acronym for Work Task Motivation Scale for Teachers. Literature review. In writing the literature review, the researcher consulted recent, relevant, and appropriate literature. And the literature discussed in the dissertation included that of Rutter, Slate and Slates, Doxson et al., Mearns, Lefcourt, Ford et al., Zee and Kumen, Amor et al., Shannon, Moran and Hay, Dashaning, Steindatz et al., Wenzel and Wickfield, and so on. In writing the literature review, the researcher discussed areas of agreement and disagreement with the research topic. Research methodology and design. The theoretical frameworks of Bandura's social learning theory, Desai and Ryan's self-determination theory, and Rotter's locus of control theory were used to guide this research. The researcher used a correlational design to determine if a relationship existed between elementary school teachers' perception of self-efficacy and perceived motivation. According to Cresswell 2008, a correlation design is a quantitative research procedure that helps to measure the degree of association between two or more variables using the statistical procedure of correlation analysis. Recruitment for participants for the study was completed through a convenient sampling from the elementary schools within the two schools division. The researcher obtained 754 emails of licensed elementary teachers who were over 18 years of age. 31 of those emails were omitted using a systematic removal technique within Excel. Therefore, 623 surveys were distributed via email. The two instruments used in the research include WTMST and the TSES, both commonly used instruments in measuring teacher perceptions. The researcher received permission to use both instruments. Two surveys were given to 130 elementary school teachers from the two districts in a southern state in the United States of America. The Teacher's Sense of Efficacy Scale, TSELs, and Work Task Motivation Scale for Teachers, WTMST surveys, were used to measure perceived teacher self-efficacy and motivational beliefs. Person product moment correlations were used to measure the relationship between the dependent variable, that is teacher self-efficacy, and the independent variable, that is intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Data analysis and results. Data analysis revealed a positive correlation between self-efficacy and intrinsic motivation. However, no relationship was found between self-efficacy and extrinsic motivation, nor overall motivation. Using three null hypotheses, the results revealed that A. Teachers' perception of the TSES composite do not have a direct strong correlation with teachers' perception of the WTMST. Therefore, the researcher failed to reject null hypothesis number 1. 2. Teachers' perceptions of the TSES composite directly correlates with teachers' perception of the WTMST, and null hypothesis 2 is rejected in the research. 3. Teachers' perceptions of the TSES composite do not have a direct strong correlation with teachers' perceptions of the WTMST. Therefore, the researcher failed to reject null hypothesis 3. Discussion. Based on the findings of the research and the findings of previous literature, intrinsic motivation can have a positive impact on teacher self-efficacy. Conversely, the current research findings do not indicate a positive correlation between the direct influence of self-efficacy with extrinsic motivation. As the United States continues to face a teacher shortage and the stressors of teaching continue to increase, research must continue to focus on the influence of retention and recruitment. Research question 1. Is there a relationship between teacher self-efficacy as measured by the teacher's sense of efficacy, TSES, and intrinsic and extrinsic motivation as measured by WTMST? The answer is no significant relationship between teachers' perception of self-efficacy in average scores and overall motivation as revealed by the research. Teachers' research question number 2. Is there a relationship between teacher self-efficacy as measured by teacher sense of efficacy scale and intrinsically motivated work responsibility as measured by WTMST? The researcher found that teachers' perceived self-efficacy directly correlates with teachers' intrinsic motivation. Research question number 3. Is there a relationship between teacher self-efficacy and extrinsically motivated work responsibilities as measured by WTMST? The researcher found there was no statistical connections between teacher self-efficacy and extrinsic motivation. Limitations of the research. 1. The first limitation was the inability to determine a causal relationship between the variables, and the researcher did not use an experimental design. 2. The researcher did not randomly assign participants to groups. 3. The sample size was limited due to the researcher's access to only 2 districts' elementary school teacher population. 4. The research relied on self-reported measures via 2 surveys requiring responses given on a Likert scale. Recommendations for future research. A qualitative study would assist in assessing the beliefs and attitudes of participants regarding the ability to perform their tasks and sources of motivation. A quantitative study would assist in analyzing the work tasks within each subsections of WTMST comparative to self-efficacy, which may reveal supplementary correlational relationships. Number 3, the research could benefit from having a larger sample size, either at the elementary level or include secondary level as well. Conclusions. Recruiting and retaining quality teachers is paramount to the success of the public education system and students' achievements. Thank you all for listening. Now welcome your questions. If you are interested in learning more about the dissertation covered in this defense, here are the references. Christensen, LB, and Johnson, RB, and Turner, LA, 2014. Research Methods, Design and Analysis, 12th edition. Publisher, Pearson Education. Roberts and Hyatt, 2019. The Dissertation Journey, a practical and comprehensive guide to planning, writing, and defending your dissertation, 3rd edition. Publisher, Sage Publications Limited. Jonathan Putman, S. 2020. The Impact of Teacher Intrinsic and Extrinsic Motivation on Teacher Self-Efficacy. Doctoral dissertations and projects. Liberty University. Thank you.